if we look at this, then I'm not saying that every single nuance of every single authority over every single part of the fiction
Sure.
has to get, formalized per person.
Hmm.
But the concept that the framing of the scene leaves open certain, I mean, is it kind of a just the facts, ma'am thing? They can open it up, so they might be able to say, we were tussling over a toy, my brother almost drowned, but it really isn't, it really isn't good play to say, and I deliberately let him drown. That's something we find out in there. And the player may arrive at it
Yeah.
intuitively in the
Yeah.
moment,
Yeah.
just like apparently this player did, as opposed to
Yeah.
having it like locked down and scripted in their head for what they're going to do.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
should say something like, "Don't describe your reaction to the situation. Like,
Right. No,
just
no
what was the
emotions in the,
situation."
yeah, no emotions
Right.
yet. Right.
But yeah, no
Yeah.
emotions yet. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that's actually really important.
Yes. Do you see what I'm? That's okay.
Yeah,
Now I feel
yeah,
like we're cooking with gas. You can go on from
yeah.
there and think about it and
Mhm.
and see if what, if anything, about it needs to be more, or more formalized. It maybe nothing. Right. Maybe that's enough.
Right,
Right. Everybody will
right.
work out how to talk to each other. Through that. Um,
Hmm.
and so at that point, the only real concern, really,
Hmm.
a little bit like waiting rooms, which does have a very definite, and it's over and the judgments happen, right? it,
Hmm.
it does occur. um Here, it's kind of the grand cycle is highly theoretical at this point, because you haven't played it with everybody going through a full round of dungeoneering with
Right.
their one-on-ones and then coming
I've
together
basically
for their
done
meetup.
one room and one flashback. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And so we're looking only at a very small unit. And I don't
Mm.
think that it is wise to presuppose that whole structure yet. You could have sort of a working model for how you would do it, and eventually get to the point where you actually play that, right, with a bunch of people, and you actually go through and
Right,
see. I mean, you don't even know what a meetup looks like at this point,
right.
right? So really, it's just a matter of.
And
Go ahead.
I think that's part of the problem is that it's almost like I could play test it, but I feel like the problem is that those meetups are so structureless at the moment that I feel like I should bring something to the table. Like,
Well,
like
maybe, but
yeah,
again, I would say yes, but
yeah.
do it with the aesthetics,
Oh, okay,
right?
okay,
I mean,
okay.
they do it
Yeah,
strictly with the aesthetics, and that's nothing
yeah.
else. And
Oh, okay.
the mechanical overview into a whole new round of urban spelunking, if there is one.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, you may have sort of a working model for that, but it is provisional. I mean, it is super
Hmm.
provisional. To give you an
Hmm.
example, in the companion game to Circle of Hands that I'm enjoying working on quite a lot, which is Dreams of Fire,
Hmm.
it has a much more concrete concept of the overall framework of play in which each of the episodes occurs. And I have at present made it rather numerical and rather, uh, what's, for lack of a better word, it's pretty deterministic. I mean, you start with sort of the Armageddon clock at a particular number. Certain events
Hmm.
during play will knock it back, or accelerate it a little bit. And then when you do the next adventure, when you determine the Armageddon clock number, you add it to the wherever it ended up last time. Okay, so play will tend to, either, unless you manage to keep pushing it back and back and back, it will, eventually work its way around. And so a bad bounce once in a while can really ram it higher. So it is, and then of course, does that mean that the end of the world is coming when the Armageddon clock, does its thing?
Right.
Um, at the moment, I'm just writing down yes, but that doesn't suit the game very well, My plan is to play it this way and find what pieces of it to knock out.
Right.
Right. Find the pieces where I'm like, that part can go. The idea
Hmm.
of it advancing is mechanistically useful and fun here, but it doesn't have to play that overarching role
Hmm.
as thoroughly as I currently have it on paper. I know that I'm just doing it that way now as
Hmm.
well, almost just a desperation device to just have something down. And I know that I'm going to, knock pieces off it or sand off pieces and stuff like that as I go. Because looking at it on paper right now, I don't like it. It's not what I want for the game. But I have it in place just so that we can keep playtesting through cycles in order to just look at it. Does that make any sense? I mean, so you could have a very provisional notion of the meetup and then how that feeds into the next round of dungeons or whatever we call them. Um, and it could be like either very soft. You say, well, I don't want anything, and then through play you say, oh, but I'm going to put in that thing. Okay, that was
Right.
good. That's all right. And so you build it up out of nothing through play, or you make some really grotesque mechanism, and then just knowing that you're going to be ripping off whole chunks of it and discarding it.
Right.
Either way, does that make any sense? Taking the
Yeah. No.
pressure off, right?
It,
We
it,
don't
it
have to.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think some of the pressure that I'm actually putting on myself is that I feel like this is such a difficult game to get people to buy into that like my
Uh,
playtesting times are limited, so it's like I have to have like
oh,
you
I
know,
see. I see. Okay.
yeah,
Huh.
yeah. It's like I'm not going to be able to play this like dozens and dozens of times. Like I'm going to get like 3 shots at it to like do like a
Well, let's
solid
let's
like
change that
yeah.
around a little bit. I mean, that's
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
that's why what am I finding? I'm finding that the the irresponsible participation in too many role playing games just for the hell of it without the pressure of this is a formal playtest and
Right.
without the pressure of this is a marriage, this is our new group, man, we are a role playing group,
Right.
right? Without those pressures, the adept play catch as catch can play community
Yeah.
is starting to look kind of fun, right?
Right.
it's
Yeah.
it's
And
yeah
and not only between that at play group, but there's also just a couple of other sort of Discord centered
right
groups where I feel like, oh, I could pull from here and I could pull from here.
exactly
And
yeah
sort of broadening that like, oh well now I can like play with anybody in the freaking world.
pretty
Like
much yeah and also
yeah.
people have seen each other play in different videos and stuff and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
you're going to play with him, cool, I'm here,
Yeah.
right? No, we don't know each
Yeah.
other very well, but I saw your game, I like it, and
Yeah.
so it's kind of a nice thing. So I actually think you could probably bust out a few reasonably strong play experiences
Yeah.
without too much trouble. So
Yeah.
one of the things that I'm afraid I'm pushing, probably much to the consternation of everybody that the person knows, is play early, play often,
Right.
right? and
Yeah.
and all, but in perhaps contradiction to expectations, also with no schedule for development. You don't
Oh
have
right.
to,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
No.
yeah.
No.
But that's a good thing,
Yeah.
right? To say, wow,
Yeah.
I get to play a lot, and however much I work on this,
Yeah.
is how much I work on it. Myself, I am massively, I can't explain it. I play a session or so of any given game that I sort of have notes scattered around for.
Yeah.
And even parts that we didn't play, now parts of my minds that I have no proper jurisdiction over, get to work, and then I know what that part of the game is going to be like now.
That very much
Right?
happened here. Playing
Yeah.
playing just that one cycle of scenes was like
Right.
immensely,
Yeah.
opening for
That's
other parts of it we didn't even get to. Yeah.
exactly, or at
Yeah.
least for
Yeah.
provisional stuff that you're willing to put into practice, next time. And
Right.
so I suggest more of that,
Yeah.
right? And
Mm.
hopefully hopefully without damaging your social life and your household chores and anything else too much, right? Anyway, that's pretty much what I had in mind to talk about. I hope that was reasonably interesting.
No, it was
Um,
extremely interesting. Yeah, yeah.
the other, let's see, there are a few other features and things to talk about. Only one last thing, really. Um, the experience of doing this with 5+ people
Hmm.
seems pretty rich. Do you? Huh, it's kind of like you have a tapestry of personal horror that's been created, plus a sort of unique, uh, I don't know, a unique profile of like who we are and what we think, right?
Hmm.
That's, I mean, as real people, or what it we sometimes think anyway. And it seems to me as though you'll have to play through some situation where you get more than one meetup before you start thinking about, and when are we all done? When are we all done? Is it, you see, okay, in some games, the most extreme form in some games is to say there is no ending, and there is no ending mechanically possible. The game theoretically could be played infinitely. We could just keep exploring beat up old houses in Arkham, right, forever.
Hmm.
We could just
Forever.
keep doing it.
Hmm.
And so then the question is, when is it enough? Because we will stop one day. When is it enough? Is it because we got bored with the endless,
Right.
investigation, monster finding? Or is it because there were other things that built and built and built from episode to episode to episode that we find have reached their end as far as we're concerned?
Hmm.
Or is there some, instead of that being something we discover, is there some sort of more, is it the adventures like in Call of Cthulhu that will take you through multiple scenarios, but then the overall framework, you arrive at the ending. Um,
Currently,
mhm.
it's formalized. You pick the length. It's either going to be 3 locations or 5 locations. Currently, that's what the design says. You decide you want a shorter game or a longer game, sort of like
But
PTA style.
oh, I see. But so
And
between each,
yeah,
when you say 5 locations, you mean 5 sets of locations, one per character,
five
right?
dungeons. Yeah,
Right.
five. Right. And kind of my thought is each one would be a session, right? Like it
Right.
would be you would sort of do
So you finish
right,
ending
like
up with a
yeah,
meetup, right?
yeah.
Um,
You end up
although
yeah, you end with a
although there's
meetup.
no particular need to constrain it to a session, real world stuff intervenes sometimes.
Right,
But
sure. No. I'm
yeah,
just saying that under ideal conditions, you would play through location in a session, right?
okay,
Obviously you can't, but yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So
There's no.
so, but again, maybe I'm just being kind of stupid and thinking about the ecology and not quite seeing it. When you say play through one of those in a session, let's say we've got 3 player characters and 2 GMs.
Hmm.
So three
Hmm.
three people with characters and then a good GM and bad GM. Are you saying that each of us would play one room and one flashback, and then we would be
Hmm.
done for the site? No, each of us would do multiple rooms and multiple flashbacks,
Hmm.
and then we would have a meetup.
Hmm.
Okay, so that would be a unit. All right. Um, good. All right, I get it.
Hmm. Yeah.
So the next question is, really, since you've got a fair amount of this kind of under your belt or tryable, um,
Hmm.
I suggest that if we continue with more consulting and we
Hmm.
do we go all the way,
Hmm.
then you would then probably the best thing to do is actually to do it. This is very much you're in the phase where this is experiential design. This is
Mm-hmm.
where you need to see different humans do stuff as you direct us.
Mm-hmm.
And you also, I mean, in addition to the literal design itself, you will be discovering the pedagogy. What did you have to say so that
Right.
we didn't screw it up? Right.
Yeah.
What did and
Yeah.
that way you can actually just say, oh, pedagogy page, and scribble that note down on there
Right.
for later use.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's kind of where what would be useful is for you to separate those two functions, the design function and the
Mm-hmm.
pedagogy function, and now play with a certain degree of in it to win it. Let's do the whole thing. I want 3 people. I want 2 GMs. I want
Right.
I want to us to grunt our way through the dungeon, and I want us to meet up. Right.
Right.
So it's time for you to stop imagining that and actually do that, and then see what your
Yeah.
design brain says. Oh, I get it now. This is what I do.
Yeah.
Right.
I kind of thought that's where it was, but that's kind of why I wanted to talk to you, because I wanted to be like, where? It's like, I don't know.
Well, in the
Process.
process wise,
Yeah.
that's kind of where I see you right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense.
this is the part where all my friends and my accountant say you have got to start asking people for money.
Yeah.
And I hang my head and say, is it okay? I'm sorry. I apologize first.
No.
I'm sorry.
No.
I have to say this. They make me say it. I don't really want to. Do you want to pay me any more money? Do you want to pay me any money?
So, no, of course I want to pay you.
I know, but
I wouldn't have brought this up if I hadn't evaluated your fee. And thought,
I know, but you're talking to a person who's very badly,
I know,
badly adjusted, right? So
I know, I hate it too. No, of course. Yeah. I mean, so there's 2 ways. I could just pay you and then just have 2 sessions down the road banked for when,
right,
because it's going to take some time to free some time and schedule to actually play this thing. Because if you would prefer that before we talk again, to take it through a play cycle, then we can kick, further discussions down the road.
Well, I was actually thinking the play cycle itself could be part of what's going on, part of what we do.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah, we could do that.
And so basically it'd be a matter of, finding a time, getting some deviants, and fellow deviants involved, and just doing this. And I actually was thinking of contacting Robbie, because this.
Oh yeah, I played with Robbie before.
Oh yeah, okay,
great.
Yeah. This kind of thing is very much his bread and butter.
I did a thing for his Ludo Lab thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. So
he knows me.
So I think that sounds like a great idea.